And the bin Ladens going back about 80, 90 years were British intelligence, admittedly. Just like Schwarzkopf and others that came later, just like President Teddy Roosevelt's grandson, Kermit. And they go in there and they have the bin Laden. So these aren't some Johnny-come-latelys. This is all about hereditary. This is trusted family. This is good people for the New World Order, the globalist. And it's this whole history of them doing horrible things. I mean, just skipping forward, you know about the Bushes, and you know about Arbusto Oil and Harkin Energy and James Bath and the money deals and the airports and bin Laden being Tim Osman and being CIA and being here in the United States. Most of you have heard about that. You've read about that. You've researched that. And we know about $6 billion given to, quote, Al-Qaeda when they were fighting the Soviets. And Brzezinski brags that they actually went in '79 when Carter was leaving and set this up and had them attack the Soviets. So when the Soviets came in, it'd be a trap. They admit all this. But it didn't end there. When they invaded the Balkans in the late 90s, there's a Senate report, Alphonse D'Amato even put it out, admitting that they sent bin Laden himself, this incredible CIA officer, red, white, and blue. They sent him in with $45 million of weapons, and they start doing the Gladio thing again. They start blowing up school buses. It's the favorite. You kill the human tribe's children, they go nuts. You get the beehive really going. All reason is out the window. And Milosevic, who's not a perfect person by any measure compared to the New World Order, give me a break. He comes down into Kosovo, which would be like the southwest of America, and he comes in and he says, look, we want all the Albanians to stay. It's just we're going to get these fighters out of here. And they send Hillary Clinton and the rest of them. They stand there showing fences there in Albania and fences in Macedonia. They go, look at the barbed wire fences, keeping them in camps. No, that's our fences keeping them out from escaping. And then our government, admittedly, NATO captains have gone public who were ordered to bomb civilians. They would bomb convoys of the refugees, then blame it on Milosevic. On record, mainstream British news, mainstream French news, admitted Spanish news. So all of this goes on. Bin Laden is a globalist New World Order puppet. And from my intel, from multiple CFR, CIA, and defense intelligence sources, he died of kidney failure probably a week before 9/11. And you've seen more of these phony video productions that are as fake as a $3 bill that, like I said, they can show you Forrest Gump shaking hands with JFK. It isn't real, folks. And they've done voice print on those tapes. It's not him. And it's almost like a joke with the gold ring and all the stuff. They don't do that. The Project for a New American Century. More evidence of 9/11. I mean, criminals love to brag. A good investigator, a good cop will tell you, these guys love to brag. That's why somebody might rob a bank and 10 years later, they shoot their mouth off and get busted. Cops go knock the wall in, there's some of the marked notes still on the wall. So criminals love to brag. These guys are into this. It's funny to them. They sit around drinking about how dumb we are, what idiots we are, how funny it is. I've talked to people high level who've been in some of these meetings concerning other government crime. It's funny. It's entertaining. They love it. The Project for a New American Century. I mean, there's hundreds of these documents. I don't know how many I've read. I've spent hours and hours and hours reading them. But September 20th, 2000, Rebuilding America's Defenses, that's the one that gets the most attention. But nobody seems to read what's in it. Michael Meacher did. Forget all the stuff about Iraq and we need a new Pearl Harbor and we need to do all this. Dick Cheney says we need to use race-specific bioweapons to kill certain races. What? I mean, can you imagine me writing that or you writing that, putting it on the website? Hey, we need to kill the brown people. And this guy runs a country. A year later, he's running a country. Oh, let's not worry about that. He just says, that's the arrogance of these people. We'll get to more of that later. We need to engineer race-specific bioweapons and legitimize their use with our friends in the media. That's a quote. Legitimize the use of race-specific bioweapons. Man, that is just special. And then we have the Afghan war plans, MSNBC, Associated Press, Times of London. 2 days before the attack, you see the headline, it says 1 day before. It's actually 2 days before if you read deeper. They had the launch orders for the full invasion that had been in preparation for 6 months before. I mean, you don't just invade countries and have carriers and weapons lined up. And it's admitted. 6 months before the globalists carry out 9/11, they line their troops up to Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, other areas, Turkey, other places, Saudi Arabia for the invasion. 2 carrier groups, all of them are just sitting there waiting. They did it. And so that's the Afghan war plans. They are quintessential in seeing how these criminals operate. Then we have the NORAD stand down. The NORAD stand down. And I like to focus on the issues we can prove. The controlled demolition, NORAD stand down, CIA drills, Tripod 2, public officials warned not to fly, the impossibility of 19 hijackers carrying these attacks out. Those are the things that the media can't play little games with. Whether the other issues are real or not, they can't debate this whole cornucopia of issues we're about to go through. NORAD stood down, and we got all the tapes, the ones they didn't shred, and it's like, is this part of that drill? Because I see a building smoking. I mean, is this part of that drill? They had all these different war games going on of drilling for planes flying into buildings on the East Coast, specifically listed in the roster of buildings it could be with CIA headquarters, Capitol, World Trade Center, Pentagon, Camp David. And so all this is going on. And the average guy in the military, woman in the military, they're good people. They're just like, I got 20 bogeys on my screen. That's what the number. What are real, what aren't? Bush had to be in that classroom waiting because they could have said, well, wait, you were in a command position. Oh, no, he didn't know. So they had to keep it going longer. So he had to be in a position where he was sequestered, so he couldn't go out and order the shoot down, because since 1957, the admirals and the generals and even the designate colonels, when the generals are asleep at night, are ordered by default, automatically to launch fighter interceptors and fire Sidewinder missiles into the targets when they're going into a populated area. Payne Stewart, you know the case. But in June 1st of 2001, they took the control away from the admirals and away from the generals just to Dick Cheney. You can type down, what's the exact headline to find it in a Google search? NORAD stand down order found. And then the link from the people's sites that wrote about this and discovered it will go to the Defense Department. You can go read it there. So it's all there for the people to see. The evidence is irrefutable. It is legion. I personally think this is the smoking gun. I mean, if I go out and order somebody or hire somebody to commit a murder, and they can clearly show the murderer worked for me and was paid by me, then I've got a conviction right there. And we know these hijackers. I've interviewed 2 embassy heads, first interview them, then it was in major papers, 2 embassy heads in Canada and in Saudi Arabia who, the so-called Al-Qaeda hijackers on your screen, they were on terrorist watch lists. They were on terrorist watch lists. But they got red flagged on the computer, and so like, we're not going to let these guys in. And then a day later they get a call, and it's a CIA section chief. These are government agents, part of a high-level anti-terror training operation. You are to let them proceed. And then they get back, and this is whenever they're going to their, quote, Al-Qaeda recruiting meetings in Malaysia or Saudi Arabia or wherever they're going, creating this ledger, this false history. The so-called hijackers think that they're government agents testing the security system, just like Special Forces or Navy SEALs will practice raiding government buildings or embassies. This is a live, I'm sure you've heard about the TSA tries to sneak a bomb through the airport. They were hired for this. Then they come to the U.S. and they're trained at the Defense Language School in Monterey, California. And the head of the Defense Language School, the dean of the school, the vice chancellor, headline, and this is out of the San Jose Mercury News, was also picked up by Reuters. The headline here is Defense Language Institute Vice Chancellor Bush made it happen to get terror war. Now, in the article, he just says the government did it. They didn't quote him all. So I call him up. I keep calling, finally he answers.